The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone. We apologize for that. We just had some slight audio issues, but we are ready to get started with today's webinar. So let me introduce you real quick to who's speaking today. So today's presenters, we have Marylhurst Lynch here. She is one of our admissions counselors specifically for the graduate program, so has tons of experience vetting applications and is going to give you some insights if you are considering applying to graduate school. And my name is Simona Beatty. I'm a Marylhurst staff member here and today's webinar moderator. So this webinar is going to offer about 20 minutes of content that we're going to go over some best practices in applying to graduate school, some things you should consider, great tips and advice, and I think Marcia is even going to dive into some of the things that you shouldn't do on your application. And then we're going to leave some time at the end for questions and answers, so you feel free to ask anything of Marylhurst. But we are asking you to save your questions until the end, so we're going to go through our content first, and then we will get into the Q&A session. And please note that this webinar is being recorded, and so you don't have to take crazy notes. We will send you the video following this webinar, probably within 24 hours. If you happen to lose that email with the video, no problem. Just go to our YouTube channel. It will be posted there under our webinar playlist. Alrighty, so let's get started with today's content. So starting with Marylhurst, let's get into tips for researching a graduate program.
All right, so make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to find the programs you're interested in. First, of course, you have to determine what programs you're interested in. So what do you want to study? What are your professional goals? And what programs meet those? You'll be making a big commitment in terms of your time and finances, so make sure you're applying to programs that will help you meet your goals. If you're not sure what those programs are, a good approach is to talk to your current professors or coworkers, friends about your plans, about your goals. You might even want to set up some informational interviews with people in the profession that you are aspiring to see what their education path was. Because a lot of programs, especially ones like teaching or counseling, require experience to get in, look into how to get that, get started early so that you have plenty of time to get the hours needed to qualify for the programs, but also to get a feel for what the profession is. Volunteering can often give you a good insight into your professional goals.
Gotcha. I know when I was looking at my graduate program or what I wanted to do, I actually Googled sort of people in the field that I recognized, were experts in that field, and I looked at the degrees that they had earned. So Marylhurst, when someone approaches you, is it good to know the difference between what an MA is or an MS or an MBA? Is that really important, or is it more important to look at the career goals and then don't worry about what the degree sort of name is?
I would say that I would recommend that you first know what your career goals are. There's many ways to get to a career, unless you're looking at something specific like teaching or counseling where you have to be careful that those programs lead to those licenses. I would leave your path open to see what programs are out there that then fit you in terms of other things that you're looking for in a program, like the size or what state or their approach to teaching, things like that.
Gotcha. All right, so gathering information.
Yes, so now you've determined what you're looking for. And now you have to find the programs that would meet those goals and the needs that you have. My recommendation is that you attend information sessions or talk to school representatives that are part of the schools and the programs that you think might be a good fit for you, so that you really kind of get more in-depth information on the programs themselves, what schools are like, how big the programs are, what their schedules are, all the little things that might impact your decision, especially if you have specific needs that you want met by that program. You can learn a lot from a university website, but it can take some digging. They're often big, and with a lot of information. So most schools have someone on staff that can help answer those questions. Here at Marylhurst, we have a team of admission counselors that help you explore programs, or it might be a faculty member that you meet with. They often have regular information sessions or meet and greets or different events that help you explore that program. And often, just coming onto campus can be helpful in determining if the school feels right for you. And review all that information carefully so that you know what you're getting yourself into. And also a piece of advice, gather info on financial aid and how you're going to finance your education. Start thinking about scholarships and how you can find those, just to get started on that early so that you can give yourself a good starting point.
Gotcha. And Mariska, what's a common, you talked about starting early with your research. How early should someone start? Because with graduate programs, a lot of times the application deadlines are in the spring if they're looking to start in the fall.
Yeah.
So how far out would you recommend someone start to research?
I would say at least a year. Because, for example, our art therapy program admits every fall, but the priority deadline is January 31st. So if you start talking to me today, you've probably already missed a big opportunity to get in and be one of the first people to be considered. And also because the applications are more complicated for graduate school than undergraduate school, you want to give yourself time to be able to write those essays or statements of intent or whatever it is that the programs will require you to submit to consider you.
Perfect, and that's a great segue into the next section. So we're going to get into sort of what you see commonly on an application or what's in an application process.
So graduate school admission is often different from undergraduate admission. You submit an application. Sometimes you submit 2 applications, one to the school in general and then one to your program specific, and you have to meet both of those requirements. Marylhurst is small, so we've condensed that into one. So you apply to graduate school, and then there is usually more requirements than there are for an undergraduate application. So you need to find out, what does the admission process involve? Understand if they have an interview process, how do you qualify for that? What their requirements are? Do they have test scores like the GRE that they want? Do they have letters of recommendation, and who do they want you to ask for those? They will almost always require your transcripts. The tests can take some time to arrive, so make sure you give yourself time to study for those and time for those to get to the school. Make sure that you practice so that you give yourself a good chance to get good scores. And so different programs will want different things. Some of them might just want a statement of intent in your transcripts. Some of them, especially if they're for example, like counseling ones, often require you to go more in depth, to have some tests, to have recommendations. For example, our art therapy program requires an art portfolio. So just make sure you know what all the pieces are so that you can get ready. And then know that there's usually fees involved with tests and applications. So just start setting aside a little bit of money. The fees are usually between $50 and $100, so know that that might be part of the application.
Let's get into tips for a good application. So these are things you should be doing.
Things that I often deal with as the admissions counselor helping students complete their applications are things like paying attention to what the requirements that we just talked about are. What is it that the application requires from you? How do they want to receive your materials? What are the deadlines? How do you submit them? So it's really important that you read instructions carefully and follow those. And if something's not clear, You can often contact someone like me, an admissions counselor, that can maybe help clarify what it is that they're looking for. And, you know, it's a good idea to have someone review your application materials, you know, have someone read your essay or statement of intent just to help you edit, you know, some of the mistakes or grammar, but also to see if they get a feel for your desire to be in that program. It can be helpful if someone helps you read that.
And Mariska, that's an excellent point, the proofreading part.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, Marylhurst, I mean, we're a writing intensive university.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that evaluation process when you submit your application is, are you a good enough writer to be okay in a graduate level school? So proofreading is absolutely essential.
Proofreading, and sometimes small things like put your name on the essay. Make sure that every piece of the application that you submit has your name on it, preferably your name and the program you're applying to. Often, especially big schools, will get thousands of applications, and you don't want your pieces to get lost. You will want to order your transcripts early so that, because they take a few days, don't order them on the deadline day. You know, give them at least a week or two to arrive at the school. Start thinking about your recommenders, like we talked about earlier. Who do you want to ask for those recommendation letters? And also, how does the school want those recommendation letters? Some want them in sealed envelopes. Some have online forms now. So make sure you know that so that you'll let your recommender know and also give them enough time to get those in. And you will have to, I swear that you will have to follow up with your recommenders, because the good ones are often busy people and might forget, or it might just get buried in their stacks. And so following up with them will be a good idea. And check on your application frequently. Check if we've received things. Most schools have an online system where you can just log in and see if we've received things. So just log in every few days, see if we've received things. If we haven't, you might want to check on them to make sure that things come on time. Don't just trust that they will get there by the deadline.
Gotcha.
Be proactive.
And Mariska, do most applications, you know, even though you submit, say, the online application,
Mm-hmm.
their full package really isn't reviewed until all the materials are in, is that correct?
Yeah, There's a few items that they might be okay with being pending, like your degree might be pending because you're still finishing your undergraduate degree. And some schools are okay with unofficial transcripts, but for the most part, they can't really make their decision if they don't have all the information on you. So be sure to be ready early.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of graduate programs are highly competitive, so there's only a certain amount of spots.
Yeah.
So the faster that you get all your materials in,
Mm-hmm.
the more likely you're going to be considered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we kind of gave you the high-end level tips for graduate school, and just to kind of think about as you go forward. I know many of you on the call may or may not have heard about Marylhurst, so we wanted to kind of go very quickly over it before we go into our Q&A section, just in case you're not aware of who Marylhurst is. So we are located in Portland, Oregon. We've been around for 122 or more years. We're approaching our 125th anniversary. We are a private nonprofit applied liberal arts and business university. So what that really means here is we have a liberal arts focus, but it is infused with career relevant skills. So we really look at not just creating a highly employable graduate, but we want to make sure that that employable graduate is one that employers seek, which means that they have liberal arts skills, things like problem solving, critical thinking, ethics, great communication skills. So those, you have career skills, but you're also a wonderful person to work with. So that's really what we're looking at. Of course, we're regionally accredited. We are a fairly small university. We really cater to the professional worker, meaning that our courses are most likely online in the evenings or in the weekends when full-time workers can really take those classes. Again, we're small. Average class size is about 11. 5-to-1 faculty ratio. We really want you to have that hands-on supporting environment for your learning here. So our faculty really do know your name. They're very much connected to you and are focused on making sure that you're moving forward with your career goals. My apologies. Clicked on the wrong screen there. So since Marushka is talking about graduate programs, in case you're wondering, if you reach out to us, you will work with Marushka on the non-business programs. We have another counselor that works on the MBA programs, but Marushka really works on all of the graduate programs listed on there. And you mentioned art therapy counseling and their deadline. Most of our programs, like you said, have a spring term application deadline area.
Teaching is next. Start reviewing application March 1st, and then food systems March 15th. But because we are a small school, we also always are open to reviewing applications as they come in after deadlines on a case-by-case basis. As long as we have space in the program, we'll look at your application and let you know if you'd fit in.
And of course, we have graduate certificates, and we are really well known for our endorsement programs. So we offer an ESL endorsement, a reading endorsement, and then the content level, mid-level for teachers. So we are really, our Department of Education is wonderful and really distinguished among Oregon school districts in particular. And so that's about it about Marylhurst. So we really want to know your questions. So if you have a question for Marushka, you'll see the question panel should be on the right of your screen. When you get a question, just go ahead and type it in, and we will answer it. Now, please note that we will answer questions that are really appropriate for the public. If you have one that's really personal to you, you can go ahead and type it in. I won't ask it in this live forum, but Marushka will follow up with you after the webinar is done. So if it's really specific to you and very personal, that's fine. You can type it in. I won't ask it out loud, but Marushka will email you later. So feel free to submit your questions. So I was trying to think about what's a common question that you get for graduate programs. Like, what's your top question usually? How do I get in? That's probably
that, and how do I pay for it?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of schools have financing options, scholarships. Graduate school does not often have a lot of scholarships. It's still considered an extra thing that the undergraduate programs are more supported because they're the first thing that you need to even qualify for a graduate program. But there's often teacher assistantship positions or grants that you can find. Marylhurst is small. We have small scholarships available for our graduate students, but I always recommend to our incoming graduate school students to look at outside scholarships. For example, teaching has scholarships on the federal level. Like there's a program called Teach that will give you quite a considerable scholarship to then teach in communities that have a harder time getting teachers. Art Therapy Association always has scholarships and grants, things like that. Things that might be specific to you and your situation are also things that you might want to look at that I wouldn't necessarily know that you qualify for. So our financial aid website actually has some links to where you can start looking for outside scholarship. And it really does make a difference because it can be a scholarship here, a scholarship there, but it can bring your tuition down by several $1,000s. So it's worth looking into.
And I would say one other point about graduate programs and financing of those, if you work for a company, absolutely check in with your supervisor, your manager. Many companies have tuition reimbursement programs, especially for the graduate level, because they want you to advance your education to benefit their companies. And so check in to see if they have a tuition reimbursement program. And if they don't, for example, if you're in the Portland area, absolutely have your company reach out to Marylhurst. We often create partnerships with local industries to create those tuition reimbursement or even tuition discounting opportunities between partners. So we have a quick question here about what is our acceptance rate for the MBA programs?
Oh my, I don't actually know because MBA programs are not in my wheelhouse. But
yeah, I know for sure, our acceptance rate is actually quite high, and one of the reasons why is because we cater to the working professional. So we don't require a GMAT, so you don't have to take the GMAT to get into Marylhurst. However, we do look for someone who has at least 5 years of professional experience. before they apply. So that is one of the sort of distinguishing features of us. So I would say if that's a question, we will follow up with you with the admissions counselor that works on the MBAs to get you a better acceptance rate. But it is quite high. I want to say it's more than 90% for sure of those that apply. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think of another question. So financing we covered, so scholarships, grants, even tuition reimbursement.
Yeah.
Another advice that we offer our students is once you get into the program is to look at financial management programs. So there's oftentimes ways to make sure that you get on a monthly payment plan. There's a wonderful resource that Marylhurst provides called SALT. It's S-A-L-T, that provides lots of financial literacy, like how to navigate your loan, to really understand it and get the best deal out of it. It's a free resource, and you actually don't have to be a Marylhurst student to sign up. You can sign up for SALT at any point in time. So that's an excellent resource. So I'm trying to think about the application process. Is there something that makes you cringeworthy? You just kind of go, oh man, I'm thinking, one of my things, on the grad application that I was advised to, when it says 1 to 2 pages, really stick to the 1 to 2 pages. And I think they mean about 10 to 11 point font. They don't mean 6-point font.
Yeah, and it's often in the instructions, which is why I said read the instructions. That's my biggest pet peeve, is that their instructions typically say how many pages. They also say what font, what space. And I will get that question frequently, or if I don't get the question when I actually get the essay, it won't be in the required font or page count, which isn't, it's not a deal breaker typically, but it does,
impression.
Yeah, it does give a piece of information to the faculty reviewing your application.
Okay. So let's see, so I'm not seeing any further questions, which is okay. So if you happen to think of further questions, you're going to get a follow-up email which has our contact information. So you can feel free to reach out to Marushka if you have additional questions about, graduate applications. And we're very much focused on making sure that you get the resources that you need. Even if you decide not to attend Marylhurst, that's not a big deal. You can always reach out to us. We are a resource here for you in the community for that. So I am going to go ahead and close out the webinar. I want to say thank you for watching, and please note that a video is coming to you within the next 24 hours, so look for that email. And again, if you happen to miss the email, not a problem. You can watch it on YouTube probably within the hour. It'll be available in our webinar playlist under Marylhurst University. So thank you again. Thank you, Marushka.
Thank you, Simona. Thank you.
All right, and we hope to see you either as our students or good luck on your graduate application.
Yeah, good luck.